you have to make sure that you charge enough that you can have money to reinvest back into the business. And, marketing has to be at the top of the list.
Today, we're talking all about how to market your brand traditionally and, wait for it, digitally.
Have you hit a wall when it comes to growing your business? Then welcome to Wingnut Social, helping home professionals, industry influencers, and creatives accelerate their business through an improved social media presence by translating digital influence into physical success. Whether your focus is interior design, travel and tourism, or hospitality, this is your social media tightly fastened. Now welcome the hosts of Wingnut Social, Darla Powell and Natalie Graff.
Hey there, and welcome to the Wingnut Social podcast. I am your host, the Lone Ranger, also known as Darla Powell, the Grand High Poobah of all things Wingnut here at Wingnut Social, a social media agency for luxury brands. And today I am not joined by the soulless ginger, Natalie Ann Giraffe. Natalie is out helping her family with the Nousberry farm down here in the Redlands in Homestead, and she is a little overwhelmed with customer demand for her jelly. So it's a solo show for me today. But before we get into our interview with today's guest, Steven Glaze of Smart Exteriors LLC, let's have a little social media news sesh, shall we? Today I'm going to talk about something that's near and dear to all of you interior designers and luxury brand aesthetes, which is Snapchat. Aren't we all on there? Oh my gosh, my producer Olivia Massimillo gave me this and I'm like, Snapchat? Is Snapchat still relevant? Well, clearly it is. Remember when Instagram started stories and everybody was like, whoop, that's it for Snapchats. We're not going to have it anymore. They're going to run them out of business. Well, surprise, surprise. Snapchat is coming back in a big way. It actually has had a nice rebound. I don't know if some of that is because of the TikTok drama, which is also still growing, by the way, guys. But people are advertising on. Snapchat has a very robust platform now for creatives. So if you're like me and you're not really comfortable navigating Snapchat, I admit it's the redheaded stepchild for me of all social media platforms. I've never really had a presence on there. Now Snapchat has put out something called Snap Connect, which is an extension of something called Snap Focus. And what this is really doing is walking you through on how to do an efficient and effective advertising or creative campaign on Snapchat, if that's something that you do indeed want to look into and see what it can do for you and your brand. So where this would be helpful for are those bigger brands with a younger, admittedly, demographic. In fact, we have had some brands come to Wingnut Social to have us do a strategy on their Snapchat presence and to see how they can hit their ROI. But granted, they're not exactly your solopreneur interior designers. They're huge shopping centers and things like that want to do partnering with influencers, influencer marketing, etc. But if you want to learn more about maybe getting a presence on Snapchat and how it can help you with your creative business, just check out the link in the show notes at wingnutsocial.com/podcast for this episode with Steven Glaze, and that will all be in there in all of its glory. And you can read all about it. It's like a course with 4 to 5 learning videos and even an exam. You can get certified if you want to. I'm already certifiable. That's another story. But there you go. Snapchat, I guess, is still relevant and is on the way back. All right. So let's get into our interview with Steven Glaze. But before I do that, who is Steven Glaze? Let me tell you a little about him. Steven is an expert in the exterior home remodeling industry. He started in the business working as an assistant at his father's roofing company at the age of 16 and was estimating projects and managing crews by the time he was 18 years old. Wow. That's pretty advanced. Today, Steven serves as Vice President of Sales for Smart Exteriors LLC, an award-winning home improvement company serving the greater Kansas City metro area. He recently wrote a homeowner's guide for siding that is now available on Amazon. Oh, I love Amazon. I love Audible on Amazon. I wonder if it's on Audible. I'll have to ask him. Wingnuts, help me in welcoming Steven Glaze to the Wingnut Social podcast. Hey there, Steven Glaze. Welcome to the Wingnut Social podcast. How the hell are you?
I always answer that question the same. I always answer it with, I'm doing not quite as good as some, but better than most.
That sounds like something my dad would have said or my grandfather. I love that. That's a great answer. So I was telling the Wingnuts listening that we are going to get into marketing traditionally and digitally, right? So successful marketing is a synergy of all of that. But before we get in and talk about your experiences and your expertise that we can relate to the audience, tell us just a little bit about your marketing expertise experience with your business, Smart Exteriors LLC.
I mean, this goes back even before Smart Exteriors. My dad owned a roofing business, and, growing up in that business and getting into marketing that, I mean, it used to be simple. It used to be you spent a lot of money on a full page ad and the big phone book, and you got plenty of calls all year round. And it was just easy. All it took was money. If you had the money, it was no big deal. That obviously doesn't work anymore. But some of the traditional things that do work, I found, is I've had some success recently with direct mail. That is something that is a traditional source, and you would think that it wouldn't, because people get so much junk mail and they throw so much of it away. But I found that if you are able to really know who your customer is and target them specifically, like, for example, we sell gutter guards, gutter protection, and that's a very targeted customer. It's someone who's, over the age of 50, they own an older home with trees, and you can really drill down and find that person, and we can target and mail directly to them. And we've had some pretty good success there. But by far, the majority of our marketing dollars get spent on online. You just SEO, digital. Yeah, I mean, that's just where it's at.
I love, though, that you're still incorporating the direct marketing. And I have to say that, that was dying down a few years ago, but I think that it's making a little bit of a resurgence for the demographic that you mentioned there. So if you're going to do a direct marketing, if you're an interior designer or a home pro and you want to market people with the certain dollar amount value in a house, or maybe you have a new homeowner, how do you even start to get those demographics for marketing like that?
That's the key. I mean, you really have to know who your customer is. And so, like, if you are, interior designer, you might look at people that just purchased a home, new homeowners, and you might find new homeowners, in a certain size house or certain value of a home. Then you might find new homeowners, certain value of a home and certain age. And if you just really, look back at your customers, that you currently have, and if you can find things that they have in common, and you can really start to build that demographic for who your customer is, then you can purchase those names and be successful that way.
How do you start to purchase those names?
There are companies that sell lists. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who we use, but if you look for just Google mailing lists, there are companies that have this information, and you select geographically. There's all sorts of things that you can, determine, basically select them, like as far as weed them out and come up with these demographics, and they'll drill it down and tell you exactly how many names they can get in that area that meet that criteria. And, you do it that way. And Facebook's getting to be that way too. That's the great thing about Facebook, is there's a lot of information there that you can really drill down to. I mean, they have a lot of that same information also, but they also have their likes and things that they're interested in and that as well. But for direct mail, yeah, you can find these list providers that's what they do. And
you can really dial it in with income,
yes,
new homeowner,
yes,
demographic. Wow, that's amazing. I like that's coming back. And you did mention that most of your budget is for digital marketing, and I do want to get into that, but because we're talking about a mix. So let's get into Facebook a little bit. Have you been into the community groups there? Are you doing outreach there, or are you just doing paid advertising on Facebook?
I'm just doing paid advertising, and then, boosting posts on my Facebook page. Those are the two primary ways.
That works really well. I mean, Facebook is still hard to beat for advertising, even though some people are boycotting it and leaving.
Right.
It's still, you can't beat it, right? At Darla Powell Interiors, which is my interior design firm, we have a lot of success dialing in our marketing with retargeting ads from the website to Facebook. I don't know if you guys use that.
Yeah, we do that as well.
Yeah, it's very impactful. And you can, like you said, on Facebook, you can dial in to somebody in the right age, the right income bracket, and all of that. So what would you say right now with your direct mail marketing campaign, what leads you're getting from that as compared to your digital marketing? Do you have those numbers yet?
As far as the number of leads?
Yeah, compared to your digital marketing so far.
Okay, so with the direct mail, it's a seasonal thing that we do. It's actually just like right now, like in the fall, because that's when the leaves fall from the trees and start to clog the gutters and things. And because of the time of year and the target, it actually by far outperforms all my other marketing. But it's just, it wouldn't, if I did it on a yearly basis, if I did it year round, like every month, it wouldn't come close. But for this particular, September through November, it's very, very successful for us. And I would say, like, we get as many as 17 to I think our best day was like maybe 20 calls in a day. And so it's kind of average. And right now, out of those, it would probably be, 15 of them would be the direct mail gutter protection leads. So it's quite a bit better. But usually, like if you go back to like the spring and the summer, I would say on average we get 10 to 15 calls and 8 to 12 of them are digital.
Yeah. That's been the strong point for Darla Powell Interiors too, but I have been thinking about rounding it out and doing some direct mail. I know Lauren Sullivan, who was a guest on the podcast not too long ago, has had some really good success with a billboard. Talk about an analog way to market your, your business there, not digital. So let's get into some of the community outreach. I have here that you are a big proponent of doing community outreach as well. And then we'll get into the digital. Tell us about what that looks like for you and your business.
So some of the things that we've done is we like to target a neighborhood and where we've maybe done some work like our big thing is siding. So we go to a neighborhood and we've done a siding project in that neighborhood and we realize that, pretty much everybody in this neighborhood needs that done as well. Or, maybe there's been a recent hailstorm and we've done a roof in the neighborhood and everybody's going to need a roof. We will have like a community outreach, basically bring in a food truck, some bounce houses for the kids. We'll promote it through most of these neighborhoods have their own Facebook page. And so we'll talk to whoever's directing that and we'll put together like basically that we're providing all of this as just a meet and greet to get to know the neighborhood and share a little bit about what we do. We'll have a booth set up and, that seems to be really, really good where we get a lot of people that from the neighborhood that come, they get to know us. They, have fun, give them something to eat. Kids jump around the bounce house and most of the time they want us to come look at their house.
Do you ever jump around in the bounce house too? Because I would totally would.
You know what? I do before everybody gets there. Yes, but no.
I would do it with the kids. It would be, who is this 52-year-old woman jumping around with all these like 6-year-olds? I was thinking about that when you were first going into this. I was like, okay, he's going to talk about doing yard signs and, maybe going door to door or something. But this is taking it up to a whole new level. I am super impressed with this. So if you're an interior designer and you have a project in the neighborhood, I was thinking, okay, we're going to do housewarming parties and do that kind of thing. But this is super cool to reach out to. Let's say if you're in Miami, Florida, there's a neighborhood here called Pinecrest, which I do a lot of work in, just to reach out to that Facebook group there and just sponsor like a little bounce house or something for the parents, have some hot dogs and hamburgers.
In our neighborhood, there's a lady that every year and this year with COVID, it's kind of crazy, but it's like a social deal. What they do is they get 5 houses in the neighborhood to host this event. And what they do is you go from house to house and you have, drink some wine, have some hors d'oeuvres and basically, everybody, it's the hottest ticket in town. Like it's crazy because they only let like 500 tickets and it goes on sale at it's not there. It's free, but you sign up at like, say noon on Thursday and by 12:30 they're sold out. Like you just can't get them. But what it is they actually have designers that come in and they will help you stage your house for this event. The whole idea is to raise money for some lady whose daughter died of a disease and support of that. And so it's a fundraiser, but it's also an opportunity for the designers because they get to come in and stage these 5 houses, 5 different designers. And so as they go along, they're seeing this, they're drinking, they're, oh my God, who did that? And getting ideas and you have your card out. And so there's opportunities for that as well. That would be a good idea for a designer. What
do you think about, if we're mentioning the yard signs, where it's like, oh, this project is under designed by Darla Powell Interiors or something. Do you think those are effective?
I use yard signs on all my jobs and I get calls on most of them.
Okay. So let's get into the digital side of it. What is your primary channel for digital marketing your home business?
It's mostly organic SEO. I mean, we spend a lot of, we do blogs. So we're posting blog posts every week, all the different channels. We're doing like these podcasts and then get, backlinks and things like that. And so we're just really focused on the organic SEO, but we also do AdWords and we also do like I said, the Facebook.
Do you do Instagram at all or?
No, we don't.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I haven't figured out how to make that work, I guess.
I know who you can go to help you make that work.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a marketing agency. Maybe you heard of them, called Wingnut Social.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I totally get it for certain things. I didn't know, exterior siding and roofing and stuff like that. Maybe it's it.
Yeah. There's a way. Trust me when I tell you. Okay. So for the digital marketing, when you're talking about organic SEO, I'm really surprised. I'll have clients that will come to me, designers or luxury brands, and say, I want to work on the SEO on my website. So Like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, let me go and let me check out your website. Let me see what I can see overall. And there's no blog. There's nothing in existence that has anything to do with the blog. And I don't think people realize how important the blog is for organic SEO. And you can't just go and write it and put it up. You have to write it strategically with keywords and everything. Are you writing your own blog, or who's doing that for you?
Occasionally, but most of the time I'm having somebody write it for me. And then I send it to the marketing company that I use, KC Website and Design, and they do their magic and post it for me. But yeah, they've definitely stressed the value of that and the importance of it. You know, I started off doing mostly the Google AdWords, where I'm paying pay-per-click. And I thought that's where most of my business was coming from, because I was spending so much money on it. And then I started getting call tracking and started tracking everything. And I realized that, you know, really it was about 50-50 between the just organic and that. And we had plenty of leads. I thought, you know, I'm gonna start playing the long game. And I slowly started backing off what I was spending on the AdWords and putting it into the SEO and more organic. And I just feel like that's a better investment, because, you know, I'm still getting a lot of great return on it, but it's always going to be there, you know, and it just, you're building this foundation. And whereas the AdWords, you know, you put it up there and you spend the money, and next month you do it all over again.
Yeah, it's more ephemeral. I have blogs that I did 2, 3, 4 years ago that are still getting me clients today. If you put it in there and couch it in such a way that it's searchable in Google, and they're, you know, in my area for clients, they're still, I think the blogs are, you're right by saying it's the long game. You want to have that long game and make sure that you're beefing up your SEO. Another SEO tip for your website that is just to make sure that you have at least 200 words of copy on each of your pages, because Google is not going to crawl your images, not for SEO purposes. So for the pandemic that we're all going through right now, how has that affected your business and your marketing budget?
When it first happened, we got I think it was, March, when they said that we were going to lock down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then everything would be okay. But so we were a little nervous, because we were going to start a large project, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do that or not. And then it turns out that construction services was essential, so we were able to keep working. And then what happened was really surprising. Our phone started ringing off the hook, and we had the busiest spring and summer we've probably ever had. And I think it was because people were home, and they, you know, really needed to make some changes. And so they had time to deal with it too. And it's not just our industry. I mean, there's people, you know, the interior side, you know, everybody's doing, hey, I need a home office. Hey, I want to start working out from home. Hey, we're going to start entertaining here at the house more, and all of these things, and started making changes. So it's been really good.
It's the damnedest thing, because when the pandemic hit, we were like, oh, great. Yeah. Here we go. It's going to be a long summer of no pipeline. And we've had our busiest year.
Yeah, same.
So far. And I think it is because people not spending their travel budget or staying at home, and just the four walls are driving them up the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your marketing budget has stayed the same, or have you changed anything?
We just kept doing what we're doing. We just stuck with. I think it also helped us too, because all the home shows and all of these things were not there, and so people had to go online, and that's where I've already, you know, kind of built my foundation. That's where we are, and so we don't do a lot of the home shows and things as much, and so that I think benefited us as well. And now I think a lot of companies are like, oh crap, how do I boost my online presence? Because, you know, maybe they relied heavily on, you know, some of those things.
Yeah, Wingnut's picked up too, as a marketing agency, with people working on their positioning and rebranding and getting that in place for 2021, or because everybody is searching digitally. And so they're like, oh crap, I really need a digital presence. Designers or businesses or influencers who are always working off of referrals, you know, have just realized how important the digital sphere is. So if we're sharing, we had a guest on quite a while ago, Kate O'Hara of Martha O'Hara Interiors, and her topic was discussing what percentage of your overall gross should you spend on your marketing budget. Do you guys have that set aside? Can you share with us, like, what percentage of your business you put on, let's say, digital?
Well, so we do overall on marketing, we try to stay at least 10%. We're going to increase that, but right now we're working on internally, like, processes and making sure that we can grow and still maintain the same quality and do a great job. But we maintain it at 10%. And then I would say of that, 90% of it's online. I mean, we only do the only thing we do outside of that, like I said, is the direct mail. These little things that we do 3 or 4 times a year with the subdivisions are not real expensive. I mean, the money is actually spent, you know, online, digital.
How much is a bounce house? I don't even know.
It's a couple $100 for the Saturday. You know, you can have it for 4 hours for a couple $100.
Oh, that's nothing. I could have a bounce house at my house. That would be worth it. But I'd put it by the pool and jump off the bounce house into the pool.
There you go.
That can't be dangerous, right? Yeah. Oh, I already have so many thoughts. Okay. So 10%, that's a little bit on the low end, but you're restructuring some other places there. So what would you say to the entrepreneurs listening or that don't have that gross overall income to take 10% for marketing? What would your advice be for them to get started? What's more important to you right now?
You got to start somewhere. And so when I started, I don't know you tell me if this is something that you can do. I assume it is. But when I first started the business, the first thing I do is have a lead. You don't have time to invest in, I didn't feel like SEO was not, because it was like, it may be 12 months before I get a good return on that, and so I need leads today so I could go make money. And so I purchased leads from like Home Advisor and Thumbtack and some of these online places that you could just buy a lead. And I started there, but you have to make sure that you charge enough that you can have money to reinvest back into the business. And that has to go, marketing has to be at the top of the list.
I tried that when I started out with the design firm, and I did get some leads from Home Advisor, Angie's List, even some on Houzz. Mm-hmm. But I found that as we got going and we aspired to more
affluent?
Yes, thank you. I just had a menopause moment. Client that those weren't really fitting the bill. So we don't do those anymore. But You're right. If you're just starting out, that might be a good way to look at it. I know that a lot of people in the industry have misgivings about Houzz, but we just signed a really good client from Houzz. So that could be something, and it's not really buying leads, but it kind of is with Houzz in a way.
We found the same thing. We don't use those services anymore, but when you're first getting started, it's either go knock doors or buy a lead, or you got to do something to get in front of somebody. The biggest thing we found with those services is that the margins we were able to get were much lower because you're competing with guys like yourself that are just starting out and don't have any overhead, and they're not always pricing it like a business person should. And so, you don't get the margin. Whereas if you start to develop an online reputation, and that's why reviews, we haven't talked about that yet, are just the most important thing you can do. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go into reviews. Let's talk about that. I know a lot of designers do not actively ask their clients for reviews. And if you're on Google My Business and you have those reviews there, they're incredibly helpful. If you have someone that's saying, oh, I'm not so sure, do you have any references? Yeah, here's my 20 Google reviews, 5-star Google reviews. Go check that out.
We didn't used to do the review thing either. We had a couple like on Home Advisor and things like this, but we never asked anybody for a review. They just did, And as I talked to a guy. I go to a contractor summit every year with James Hardy, and we talk about different business things and growing your business. And this guy from the large company and back on the West Coast, he told me that he said, get Google reviews. He said, I don't care what they cost, what you have to do to get them. At all costs, get reviews. And so I took that to heart, and I did. So I think the first year was 20, and then we got 20 more. Now we're up to close to 50 or so. Just over the last 2 years, basically. And it's changed everything. The margins, the closing percentages, it is absolutely worth whatever you got to do to get them.
People will say, if I ask a client for a review, should I be on Houzz? Should it be on Facebook? Should it be here? No. Because clients are lazy. It's hard. It almost is like pulling teeth, even if they're super happy to get them to write a review. Mm-hmm. If you have that client and they don't want to leave, copy and paste and leave reviews everywhere, Google. Yes. Google's always your first choice for them to leave a review. And you have to have Google My Business in order to do that. So
you set up your Google My Business, and then it's still a little bit difficult for customers to find it. So you have to send them a link to where they just click on it and it pops up and they can fill it out, because to find your Google My Business page and to go leave a review for a lot of clients is just a little bit difficult. So we use grade.us. And it's a service that they have a platform set up to where I type in this customer's name or name and email. They send them one email right away asking for a review, and it'll have you'll have your primary like Google, and then it'll have 4 different other options. Because if they don't have a Gmail account, sometimes people don't want to go create a Gmail account. So then it gives them, the Facebook would be my number 2, then the Better Business Bureau or Houzz or something like that.
Okay. So that's grade.com. I'm on it.
Yeah. And so what it does, though, it's an automated thing. I just enter their stuff once, and then they automatically, the process is they send it to them once, and then 3 days later, they send them another email asking for a review with the links and make it real easy for them. And then I think 2 weeks later, they get a third final, hey, please give me a review. I follow that up a step further. At the end of the year, right about between Thanksgiving and Christmas, if there's anybody that I know we've done really good work for, and they just didn't leave me a review, we will call them up and say, hey, listen, I know we asked you for a review when we did the project, but I know, how time consuming it is and everything. And so if you would take the time to fill out a review and leave that for us, we'd send you a $25 gift card you can use for Christmas shopping or whatever.
I've seen that. I've actually gotten those from people. Hey, would you leave us a review? Here's a $25 Amazon gift card. I like that idea. And it's worth the investment, I think.
When we finish the job, we get done with the job and we go to drop off the final invoice, I usually take either we have called nothing bundt cakes. And so it's like a bundt cake tower that I take, or we should mail brownies or cookies, so we try to do the absolute best job we can. We give them that. Then we ask for the review, and usually we get it there, but sometimes we don't. We still ask again at the end of the year. Sometimes I'll tell them that, because it's true that the guys that work on the crews that work on their home, they get bonuses based on the reviews as well. And so a lot of times, they may not want to, feel compelled to leave me a review, but they sure like Caesar, who, they got to know while he was at their house for a week, and they'll help him out. And so they'll write the review, but we put everything into that because the return on that investment is huge.
I love that, because I have designers working for me that maybe I'm not hands-on with the project. I like that. That's a nice little spin on that. I like that a lot. I'm going to check out, I'm on grade.com right now. I'm taking a look at it, and I'll tell you what, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go totally check that out. How much is that a month? Do you know?
I pay them for the year, and I think it's $1,000 a year.
Woo! Okay. It's an investment for sure. Do they do the thing where it's like Reputation Manager, where if someone says, oh, it's a 1-star review, it doesn't go to Google? It goes to you, right?
Yeah. So that what they do is which is kind of good and bad, because when they click on the link, the first thing pops up is give us a 1 to 5 review, right? 1 to 5 star. So if they click 5-star, a lot of times, and they click submit, a lot of times my customers think that they're done, and then they don't realize that. Then it sends them to Google, and now you got to do it again. And so, yeah, it weeds people out, but that just hasn't been an issue for us. So we don't have anybody that wants to leave a 1-star review, at least not yet. So I'd almost wish they didn't have that, but yes, that it does do that. So if you get anything, you said it. I think we have ours set at anything less than a 4. So if they send a 1 through 3, then it comes to me and they think they're done. Then
you can mitigate it. Yeah. Figure out what the hell that's all about.
Right. Yeah. So that is a good thing, I guess, for us. I just feel I've had to go back to some people, and they said they left a review, because it'll send you an email that they opened the email, they clicked it, they clicked on Google or whatever, but then you see that nothing ever posted. Then I got to go back to them and say, hey, listen, I know you tried to leave a review, but it didn't actually leave it. Can I walk you through that process?
That's a pain.
So it just it's give and take. I don't know if that's an option to remove that part or not. I should ask them, because for somebody who's maybe gets a lot of reviews, and the more you get, the more opportunity there is to, you're not going to make everybody happy to have that issue. But for us, I'd soon remove that issue. But there's that, and there's also other companies that do that as well. Yeah, but some of them are more expensive though. There's other companies that charge that. Well, there's another company that'll actually call and get the reviews from them and post them on their own site. But I'd rather them go to Google.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, for sure. 100%. Okay. Well, Steve, is there anything that I've forgotten to ask you that you think is important to share with the audience listening for their marketing before we get into the What Up Wingnut round?
No, I think we've covered it. I think that just about covers it. The only other thing that I've done is I did, and I would recommend this, is I did write a book and have it published on Amazon. I did a couple of things. One, it creates a sense of, you're the expert because you've written the book on siding, is what I did. And then also, if you get it posted on Amazon, you can have it linked back to your website. And that is always a good thing.
That's something that's in the works for me next. We had Luann Nigara, who's the host of a Well-Designed Business podcast, and she was telling the audience all about how writing a book helps increase your rank in the industry as an expert, as a recognized expert. And she's gotten so many speaking gigs, and it's just, I love that. And of course, could tell the audience what the name of your book is so they can go check it out.
So it's the Kansas City's Buyer's Guide to Siding Your Home. And they can get a free copy on my website. Just go to smartextpros.com and download it for free.
All right. Awesome. All right. Now I have to ask you, Steve, are you ready for the What Up Wingnut round?
I think so.
Now it's time for What Up Wingnut.
If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be and why?
I would be a palm tree so that I could always be somewhere sunny and maybe close to a beach.
Very nice. I have in my yard, no joke, 190 plus palm trees. We counted them one day. What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
Hashtag YOLO. You only live once.
If you could have only one superpower, what would it be and why?
I think it would be the ability to teleport.
I love it.
I could just instantly be somewhere. That would be nice.
Between that one and invisibility, I think. If you could have both, you could teleport into a bank invisibly.
Wow, you could teleport to a lot of places invisibly. That could be fun.
Yeah, it could be real fun. Last but not least, please recommend a book that has had a profound effect on you, either personally or professionally.
I would say Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. That was a good one.
Good one. Good one. I love that book. I have that in my Audible queue too. So, Steve, please tell the Wingnuts. I mean, you already told them where to find you on your website. Where can they find you on your social? Oh, and we have to get you hooked up with Instagram. We'll talk after the show.
So, LinkedIn at Steven Glaze, Twitter at Steven Glaze, and then just online on my website, smartextpros.com.
All right, you guys go follow him, go pick up the book. And Steven, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. You've been an amazing guest. Have a great week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So Steven Glaze just gave me a couple of light bulbs. First of all, the bounce house. That is like winning. Who doesn't want to jump in a bounce house with commute? That is such a great idea. If you have a client that you're doing home improvement or you're doing interior design, or to set that up in the neighborhood, you can find out who's on the Facebook groups and put something together like that. He said at the end there, the bounce house is only like $200, $300. Come on now. That's a no-brainer. Do like a little meet and greet with the neighborhood and put your little yard sign in front of your house. Even if you're just, no one shows up, you get the bounce house. And I'm glad that he mentioned the blogging for SEO, because organic traffic for SEO, I mean, you can spruce up your website. You can write the exact copy. You can put in your H1, your H2, your H3 headers, and you can make it really SEO proof. But if you're not blogging, you're not going to be optimized for SEO. And there's a certain way to do that, to write the blog to where it's not just a whole string of, here's some keywords and here is my blog interior design, blah, blah, blah. Because you want to make it readable for the person that's coming to your website to read the blog, but you also want to make it searchable by Google so you can rank #1 for interior design Miami. And it's both an art and a science to do that. And that's something that we do here at Wingnut Social. If you guys need help with your blogging, we can certainly do that for you. And we optimize it for SEO. We just don't churn out a cute little piece for people to read. We want to make your website searchable in an organic way. And the direct mail thing, I have seen that. There's a designer that I talk to on Instagram a lot who's over in Naples. And he just recently did a marketing campaign doing some of the mailing list, like Steven was talking about. And he said it was actually really impactful. So while digital marketing, of course, I own a social media marketing firm, is going to be my #1 thing. And how I started my business with Darla Powell Interiors was just really inundating the social media, because at the time it was free for me, right? To get the word out that here's what I'm doing, here's what my projects are. For you who are limited on a budget and doing it yourself, that would be my #1 recommendation. Try the thumbtacks, try the Yelps. If you're just starting out and you're not really looking for that luxury high-end dollar client in the very beginning, that could be a way to go. I do know some designers who have great success with Yelp. I know some designers have great success with Thumbtack. Starting out, it might be worth just taking a look at. Right now, where we are at Darla Powell Interiors here, we do still have Houzz. And I'll tell you why we still have Houzz. A lot of people ask me that. I'm like, Darla, how can you have Houzz? How do you get good leads from it? I never get anything good from there. Well, we just did get a couple of clients this year that more than paid for my marketing for the whole year. Not just on Houzz, but in general. So what Houzz does, and you can go back into our archives for episode 37 with Alex Berman. And even if you kind of hate Houzz, or it's really good for SEO, is if you search interior designers Miami, you'll see on the top results of the Google search list, you might have Thumbtack, you might have, whatever, blah, 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 but you'll see Houzz and it will say top interior designers in Miami. So you go in there, and if you're part of that whole Houzz thing, and if you're paying to play there, you'll see your firm listed as one of the top interior designers in Miami. So you do get some bang for your buck there. Maybe they aren't necessarily reaching out to you through Houzz, but you're still getting brand awareness and they're still going to your website. So we've still found it valuable for that. And you remember Steven said even in the pandemic, he's spending as much as 10% of his overall gross on marketing while he set some aside to do some positioning and make sure his systems and processes are in place for when he does raise that, he can handle the influx of clientele that he's going to get. And you'll remember Kate O'Hara's episode. She was saying anywhere from 15 to 20% of your overall gross on marketing is very reasonable. And as a newer designer, when you're starting out, you want to actually even up that, which seems counterintuitive, but you have to get your brand out there. You have to have reach and awareness because you're just starting out. It's definitely something to consider, especially for 2021, as we round out the show of a year, 2020, for 2021 to set aside. Look at what your overall gross is, look what your ROI is going to be, what's your end game going to be, and set aside that 10% at the minimum and get your marketing game on point. I tell you, it's made all the difference for me in my interior design business, for sure. Without digital marketing, I would be nowhere. All right. So hopefully this episode helped expand your awareness a little bit and give you some insight to try some marketing ideas that maybe you hadn't otherwise thought of. If you like what you hear, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever the hell you're listening to this podcast on. Follow us on social at Wingnut Social on every channel that God has made in social media. And if you need help with your social media marketing, shoot us an email to info@wingnutsocial.com. We would be happy to help you out. And that's it. Until next week. See ya.
You've reached the end of this episode of Wingnut Social, but that's only the first step into accelerating your business the Wingnut way. Head over to wingnutsocial.com or call us at 1-877-WINGNUT to see how we can help you take your business from social mediocre to social media master. We'll see you on the next episode of Wingnut Social, your social media tightly fastened.
Me. Okay. Menopause is terrible. Good boy, Mango.